Good evening. Welcome to Thai PBS English News Service. Tonight you're with me, Rungtip Chonapalai. The long-expected third reshuffle of the Yingluck Shinawatra cabinet finally became official last night after His Majesty the King issued a royal decree endorsing the appointment of the 23 new cabinet members proposed by the Prime Minister. Our team of the political analysts at Thai PBS point out that this reshuffle is a real indication that Thailand's first female Prime Minister has established her authority by making her own calls on who will be in and out of her administration. Meanwhile, the opposition party says the reshuffle will not have any effect on the upcoming censor debate. Here's more.
Thai PBS political editor Sawalak Watanasin and her team say the latest reshuffle of cabinet members shows that PM Yingluck Shinawatra, long accused of being overpowered by influence from overseas, is standing up and making her own calls, as many cabinet members with close ties with her have remained in their posts. Police General Pracha Promnok, who is being seen as a big left on the back burner, remains in his Justice Minister seat. PM Yingluck personally invited Police General Pracha to join her cabinet when she knew she was going to be PM. Despite being harshly criticized after admitting he told white lies about economic figures, embattled Deputy PM Kitirat Naranong, who is a highly trusted senior supporter of PM Yingluck, also remains his post. Similarly, Commerce Minister Bunsong Teriyapirom remains his seat amidst the criticism of the controversial rice pledging scheme. Bunsong is known as being a fundraiser for the Pheu Thai Party and a close friend of the PM, as they studied in the U.S. together at Kentucky University. Meanwhile, the newly appointed Health Minister, Pradit Sintawarong, is not only renowned for being a billionaire with medical knowledge, but also as a close ally of PM Yingluck, as they have invested in real estate together in the past. Of a total of 23 ministers and deputies were appointed this time, many just swapped portfolios. There are 14 new faces, however, in the third lineup. A handful were former executives of the now defunct Thai Rak Thai Party who had been banned from politics for 5 years. 12 ministers and deputies from the last cabinet were ousted. One of the most surprising moves was not appointing Red Shirt leader Satupon Prompan to a ministerial post. Analysts are saying that this may damage some support from the Red Shirt movement. However, opposition leader Apisit Wechachiwa says the upcoming censure debate in Parliament, scheduled for November 27th through 29th, will not be affected by the cabinet changes, as the key ministers expected to be grilled remain their jobs, including Deputy PM Kitirat Naranong, Deputy PM and Foreign Minister Surapong Towichakchaikun, criticized for issuing Thaksin Shinawatra his diplomatic passport, Commerce Minister Bunsong Teriyapirom, embattled by the rice pledging scheme, Air Chief Marshal Sukampon Swanatat, who remains Defense Minister, and Deputy PM Chalerm Yubamrung, who will be questioned about the government's tough anti-narcotics policies and handling of the issues in the Deep South. Another factor which continues to leave the public wondering is the selection of the new Pheu Thai Party leader, as well as whom the party will submit to run for the Bangkok governor position. Police General Priyapan Damapong, former police chief and brother-in-law of Thaksin Shinawatra, may assume one of the two, if not both positions. Some critics say this name will give the ruling party an edge on the political scene.
And since the newly appointed ministers have not yet taken the oath of office, they cannot start work yet. This is why there will not be a weekly cabinet meeting tomorrow. And moving on to the second news, the Futsal World Cup 2012 is being hosted in Thailand, starting with the opening ceremony on November 1st. Meanwhile, FIFA representatives have been inspecting the Bangkok Futsal Arena to decide it is ready to be used in a tournament or not. The Futsal World Cup is nearly here, and the Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra will preside over the opening ceremony this Thursday at Huamang Indoor Stadium. As for the Bangkok Futsal Arena, the Bangkok Metropolitan Authority has brought in a temporary playing surface because the permanent one is due to arrive by Wednesday. Meanwhile, the deputy Bangkok governor said that FIFA representatives are pleased to see the progress of Bangkok Futsal Arena and will revisit tomorrow to decide whether to use it or not. The decision will be based on the live television broadcast center's readiness. The overall external appearance appears almost complete as per the architect's model, but the interior is not yet ready. For example, 200 toilets and VIP rooms have yet to be completed. FIFA representatives will gather information and progress from 3 visits and make a final decision this Wednesday. Michael Mas, a Dutch journalist who was hit by a stray bullet whilst reporting on a crackdown on the protester encamped at Ratchaprasong during the political upheaval in May 2010, appeared at the Department of Special Investigations or DSI today to provide information to the police. He took with him the bullet that hit him and handed it over as evidence to the DSI. Michael Mas, the Dutch journalist, visited the DSI headquarters today. He said that he was shot by a member of the security forces whilst reporting on the political conflict in 2010. He provided the DSI with what may be crucial evidence, namely the bullet that hit him in his shoulder, which he had been keeping at his home in Jakarta. He also provided a tape recording of Thailand's bloodiest armed crackdown and a DVD recording of his treatment in a Thai hospital. Lieutenant Colonel Wannapong Kocharak, Commander-in-Chief of the Bureau of Financial and Banking Crime, accompanied the journalist to assist in the handing over of the evidence and to confirm that the bullet was indeed the one that entered Mas' right shoulder. He was shot on the 19th of May 2010 during the turmoil that ensued after Thai troops smashed through the barriers into the rally zone in Bangkok city center. Possible corruption in the 3G auction process is currently the subject of an official investigation. Today, the Senate committee called the Ombudsman to investigate the National Broadcasting and Telecommunications Commission, or NBTC, the organizers of the auction for the 3G licenses. The NBTC's vice president said 3G will be launched by the 3 big mobile phone networks if there is no intervention by the court.
ไม่น้อยกว่า 6 ท่านนะฮะ
Co-leader of the group of 40 senators, Paibu Nititawan, a member of the Senate Committee on Corruption and Good Governance, has accused the Telecom Committee of violating Section 47 and 305(1) of 2010 Frequency Allocation Act and the NBTC regulations on frequency allocation. He also filed a request with the Ombudsman to submit a petition to administrative court to try to delay the issuing of the 3G licenses while an investigation is underway. He said that the administrative court might not have the authority to nullify the 3G auction even if it accepts the senator's petition. Meanwhile, Colonel Setapong Malisuwan, a vice president, confirmed that the auction was conducted in a transparent manner and follow international standards. However, court intervention will lead to a new round of bidding, which would allow greater competition and revenue generation for the state. If there is no court intervention, 3G licenses may be issued to 3 mobile networks on November 20th. The National Telecommunications Commission, or NTC, confirmed they had the right to consider and issue 3G licenses. The vice president of the NBTC confirmed this. Meanwhile, mobile operators, Advanced Info Service, or AIS, DTAC, and TrueMove have guaranteed they behaved totally within the law in the auction process. However, the Lao Telecommunications Company, or LTC, is set to launch its 4th generation or 4G mobile service next month. Police in Sisakhet province are clamping down on rice smuggling in the government's rice pledging scheme, particularly along the border. At the same time, farmers are beginning to enter the program after 3 of 23 rice mills resume operation. while the reopening of 3 rice mills in Sisakhet province has encouraged some farmers to sell their rice production into the government's rice pledging scheme. The number of farmers participating remains low because many of them have to dry their crop for at least a week to meet the moisture requirement of 15%. Meanwhile, Sisakhet Provincial Police Commander Pongwut Pongsi has instructed authorities in the area to set up checkpoints to prevent transporting of unauthorized rice. Security is particularly tight along the borders between Sisakhet Province and Surin and Buriram to prevent the smuggling of rice, which the smugglers will try to sell into the government's pledging program. Likewise, authorities in Buriram province are examining the readiness and availability of rice storage facilities at 6 rice mills in the Mueang district as well as Satuk and Puthai Song before accepting rice into the scheme. At the moment, 7 locations have been opened for pledging in Buriram and another 12 are in the process of signing contracts and making the guarantee payments to the public warehouse organization. These remaining 12 locations are expected to be up and running by next week. Today, a Philippine court entered a not guilty plea for a former President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo on a plunder charge, a litmus test of the government's ability to tackle entrenched corruption in the poor Southeast Asian nation. Here's more from Hugh Adam.
Arroyo, 65, who ruled the Philippines from 2001 to 2010, sat silently beside her family and lawyer during the arraignment hearing, while charges that she'd misused state lottery funds from 2008 to 2010 were read to the court. The court entered a not guilty plea on her behalf after she and her lawyer did not respond to the charge. She could face a maximum sentence of life in prison if she is convicted. Arroyo, wearing a pink shawl over a light pink dress and a neck brace, arrived in court in a wheelchair, smiling for photographers. She had 2 spinal operations 2 years ago. A lawyer for Arroyo, Raul Lambino, said they did not recognize the graft court's jurisdiction over the case and called it, quote, plain political persecution. Prosecutors accuse Arroyo and 9 officials from the state lottery agency of misusing around 366 million pesos, that's about $8.88 million US, in sweepstakes funds, alleging that they transferred the money to an intelligence fund for her use. Arroyo faces separate corruption charges for her alleged role in the misuse of public funds and kickbacks from a multi-million telecommunications deal with China's ZTE Corporation. The public broadband deal was aborted in 2007. She's also on trial for electoral fraud. She denies all charges. About 400 police were deployed to block the supporters from marching to the court. Hugh Adams, ThaiPBS.
Thank you, Kun Hugh. Typhoon Sonti battered northern Vietnam yesterday, killing at least 3 people and injuring dozens more. According to a local media, at least 3 died in a traffic accident when a coach hit an oncoming lorry during the storm. Sonti hit Vietnam yesterday with winds as strong as 133 kilometers per hour. Today, the winds weakened to between 62 to 74 kilometers per hour. Authorities said Sonti caused widespread power outages in 3 provinces north of Hanoi, adding that thousands of residents had been evacuated from flood-prone areas to higher ground. Local media says Sonti was expected to move northwest in the next 12 hours.